right, there we go. Hey everyone, Richard Carlton here. Welcome to another great day of FileMaker training at fmtraining.tv. I'm the creator of fmtraining.tv, where you can learn all about the FileMaker platform and learn how to build better FileMaker applications for you, your customers, your organization. This broadcast is completely free to everyone and is being broadcast in high definition to Discord, YouTube, and to Twitch. This broadcast is being recorded, which is really great. Of course, we might clean up the recording a little bit, so if we make a malfunction during the live stream, then of course we reserve the right to clean that up on the recording later on. However, because it's a live broadcast, we encourage you to ask questions. In fact, some people get aggravated when there's this dialogue with you and we ask questions. We want questions. If you have a question, odds are other people have the question too. And so I want to thank everyone for logging in, Ken and TK and Dave One, Dave Learning, Ed, Elzo, Carol, Jake, Mike, all of you, welcome once again to another great broadcast. Now, as a reminder, if you want to check out the upcoming broadcast, go to fmtraining.tv, press the left tab for the live button. You can see the upcoming broadcast schedule. That's pretty awesome. For those of you who missed Friday, a real quick update on Friday. So Friday, HOnza tried to pack 20 pounds of into a 5-pound bag, which is what happened. So we're attempting to extricate the 20 pounds and separate it into 2 videos. So we have the Ukrainian information warfare training video, which is interesting. And then we also have kind of a separate conversation about doing making calls with a restore. It's basically a DAPI wrapper. We've talked about DAPI wrappers before. So basically the idea of making calls to FileMaker server and bringing data publicly to a public website, which is very exciting. So real quick as a reminder, if you want to support the channel, feel free to check out our bundles that we have right here, which are really great. We are looking at having more interaction with the certification. There's a certification training that's in here. It's really great. It's only part of the complete bundle. Very, very exciting. And so we've had people getting certified. We're still up. Larry is not here. Larry, the Marine, he has taken the test once or twice, failed it, but he was really close in the last one. But then he had like double knee hip surgery, so he's kind of been medicated. So I think he's probably not been studying. So we're gonna have to have him study hard before he takes the next test. So HOnza, top secret. Yes, there we go. So yeah, everyone, welcome. Obviously, if you have questions about today, feel free to ask. So today is like day 1 of like a 5-day kind of smorgasbord of stuff. So HOnza kind of has a schedule. We're going to jump over to his screen here momentarily. In fact, I can do that now. But today is day 1. What are we doing on day 1, HOnza? What are we doing today?
Hello. So we are going to talk about turning FileMaker database into iOS app. Why everyone should be doing it, how easy it can be, and why it matters even for those who don't want to put it on the App Store, but just want to put it on 1 device or 2 devices within a company.
All right, cool. Now, officially, I have to officially say this is that HOnza has simplified the process, but you do have to pay them a couple bucks to simplify the process. The reason that historically people talk about doing the iOS app SDK, but there's a lot of moving parts. You're wrestling with Apple. I mean, you still have to wrestle with Apple some, but getting the Xcode installed and getting all that done is a real pain. HOnza has greatly simplified it with a service that he provides, right? Kind of an automation service, right? So
exactly.
It's not free, but it's effectively, practically, it's like buying monkey bread. It's practically free. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, so Margaret, are we good with him? Are you going to go full screen? Are you going to show us what you're doing? What are we doing today, HOnza?
So as I mentioned, I'm going to show you why you should care, why you should always do it this way and not use FileMaker Go if you want to be serious about your apps, and how to make it really easy so that there is absolutely no hassle doing it. So today I'm going to talk about what is the user experience that you can achieve by building a real native app, what extra benefits you can get, what you may or may not know about the App Store, what the different Apple developer programs are there, and how to get oriented and how to understand which one to use. Then a little bit about the FileMaker iOS SDK, and then the difference you can make by using our service instead of going the hard way. So with the FileMaker, with the native app, one benefit is that you can use plugins on iPad and iPhone. There are plugins out there, including Monkey Bread software, including a few plugins from 2for-You and others, which you can use on iPads, iPhones within FileMaker and greatly extend what FileMaker can do for you. One benefit that's not so obvious is you can use older versions because you have control over which version of FileMaker engine you are building your app with. So, for instance, if you have a deployment within a company that still runs on old version of iOS, and you struggle with using FileMaker Go because there is no older version than 19 available in the App Store, you can still build your app with FileMaker Engine version 17, for instance. So when dealing with large corporates where updating is a complicated process, this may be very helpful. But for me, the favorite benefit of building a native app is the user experience. So let me show you what I mean by that. Probably, if you are in this session, you already know you are already a user of iOS, iPhone, or iPad. But let me ask you, and Richard, help me to get your responses. How many of the people present in the session now have actually ever deployed a FileMaker app on iOS?
Okay, so he has a survey question here, everyone. So on Twitch, YouTube, or Discord, let us know. Maybe a yes or a no to make sure you're actually not sleeping on the job, folks. But have you made an app? So we're not talking about a Go app. We're talking about
well, just anything, like even FileMaker Go. If you ever deployed FileMaker app on iPhone or iPad.
Yeah, so David says, yeah, on Go or on iPad. Stu says Go, yes. Mikey says 2 apps.
But most people are saying no.
Yeah, it's NJ's done it for sure. Yeah, NJ's done that. There's no way. He's way too super savvy not to have done it. The people on Discord and Twitch have a slight delay. So I'm kind of slowly pausing my words to let them type. And then for those of you who are hearing this, you probably responded immediately on a YouTube or Twitch, but it's about a 90-second delay before I see it. Just the way there's a. So yeah, so Kim says, yeah.
Okay, so I see that's probably less than half, but let me ask one more question. Is there anyone who actually tried the FileMaker iOS app SDK, whether they failed or succeeded? And if you tried, did you succeed or fail?
Okay, so Michelle Gravel says no, has never done that. Michael Kerwin says yes. I'm not sure to which one. Ace Estimate, yes. Mike Crawford, no. So I don't think there's a lot of people who've done a legit Xcode. You've gone to Xcode and done a legit Xcode app, right? Either with FileMaker or something else. Morgan, he says, have not tried. Mikey says yes. He used SDK and it worked. So he's like the outlier here. Him and myself.
Yeah, definitely, and lucky one. Okay, so let me dive into what the user experience is, and here I have a very simple fun app that I created. I don't know if you know the game Wordle. It's getting quite popular in English-speaking part of the world now. So I always prefer to like challenges like trying to build a software rather than finding words with my brain. So instead of using my brain, I try to use it to create app in FileMaker to help me to solve the wordle puzzles. So this is the app, and I simply made it look nice on iPhone and iPad by creating 3 different layouts. So with FileMaker Go, this is what the experience looks like. So I have to open the Go. Then if I'm lucky, I find the app there. I sometimes even struggle whether I have to go to recent or host or local. And trying to explain regular iPhone user how to open an app in FileMaker Go, that always drives me mad. And the other thing is when you open an app and go back to FileMaker Go, you are still there. And how to switch to different app? It's kind of a different experience than what the users are used to from the OS itself. Am I correct?
Yep. No, you're absolutely correct.
So this is what I have always struggled with in FileMaker Go. Probably maybe less than a half a year after FileMaker Go was first released, someone came up with an idea of adding a bookmark icon on a desktop.
Yep.
That could just open FileMaker Go and go straight to the right file or open the right database. This was a workaround, but it was quite difficult to create it. You had to deal with configuration profiles and install them on the devices, and it changed how it worked between versions. The profile not always worked the right way. For the first version, you had to make it full screen. For the second version, you had to make it not full screen to make it work. So again, another set of hassles. And whenever you deal with some error or close the database or something happens, very often you end up being presented with the FileMaker Go interface where you have to select whether you want to open a host or open a recent file. Sometimes the recent file is not the same one as the one you want to open, even though it has the same name. So dealing with regular users whose only goal is to use your app and having to explain them, well, this is not my fault. The app is working, but you have just not opened it correctly or something like that. That's something you always want to avoid. So let me show you what the experience may look like if you actually build native apps. Here I have 4 different apps built in FileMaker. All of them appear on the desktop as icons. First one is the one that I just recently built. This is my example for building barcodes. Another one is an application that I built for my son to learn multiplying when he was in, I think, 3rd grade. So this is another small app, and this one is actually even on the App Store. And another one, this is just for fun, a simple 3x3 tic-tac-toe that I built just to have fun, nothing else. But if you can see, they literally behave like natural iPhone apps, like native apps. All of them are built in FileMaker. All of them can run at the same time. And switching between them is as natural as switching between the other apps that you can have on the iPhone. So the user experience has nothing to do with dealing with FileMaker Go. I love to present that I build them using FileMaker, but I don't want FileMaker to go between the app and the user when the user just needs to use the app. You understand? So this is the experience that I'm looking for as a user. And what I'm saying, this is the reason why I will probably never, ever deploy an app using FileMaker Go anymore, because this is the user experience that I want to present my users with. How about you?
Well,
All right. Questions along the way? Yeah, any questions from anyone?
No questions. Not really. People saying nice. But people are agreeing it's much nicer not to have the extra steps.
Yeah, I see comment from David Angel that the advantage of Go is you can make modifications easily and on the go. Well, this is the same true about the native apps. The native app, you can always modify it because inside there is just a FileMaker file, so you can make changes. And the native app is full-featured FileMaker Go inside, so you can connect it to FileMaker server as well.
So
there.
Okay. Well, okay. So now, to be honest here, I mean, putting a new version of your iOS app together and sending it to Apple for review and publication is not necessarily as easy as making an edit on your desktop and uploading it to your iOS device, right?
So, okay, you're right. But as long as you can afford using the same version of the FileMaker engine, yep, you can bypass this Apple's process. And I will be talking about that later this week.
Okay.
I think on the day 4, one of the topics is updating, and there is actually a way how to update the app built with FileMaker without going through the app update process on the App Store.
All right. So there was a question from NJ. I'm going to go ahead and interject there on that. So the mobile app, how it interacts with FileMaker server, the behavior will be the same.
Okay, so as I mentioned, it's a full-featured FileMaker Go, so the behavior is exactly the same as FileMaker Go in terms of connection, but there is one difference. The native app is set to always, when you open it, it always opens a database. It never ends up with no database open. So the database, if you want to deal with a FileMaker server, the database that opens when you open the app can be the one that connects to the server again. So you can make it so that whenever you go back to the app, even if it disconnected from the server, it can automatically reconnect, and the user, except for a small delay, doesn't notice any difference.
So to put this another way for those of you, you could build a launcher file. We're always doing opener files or launcher files, and that could be all that you stuff into your iOS app. The question would be, I would have, is that if you do something like that, doesn't Apple get, I mean, don't they get, I mean, because they're trying to publish this on their public, I mean, well, I mean, you need to get into the conversation about publishing on the store for your company versus publicly. Are you going to cover that?
Yes, okay, definitely. And basically, the following 2 days, tomorrow and Wednesday, are going to be mostly about publishing on the App Store and going through the review process and dealing with these items. I will lightly touch it today as well, but today and tomorrow will be mostly just about this.
Okay, so real quick for David Angel, I don't want to shelve his question. So he says, do you have to post it every time to the App Store?
No.
So, yeah, I mean, if you have a database that's running locally on the device and you have it built and then you want to update that, either you have to write a process that will run an update, download the file and update it inside. Like you can download the file and find a way of opening that FMP12 file. Or if you're using a hosted solution, then all you're doing is working on the hosted solution, and this little thing is just a launcher, right? So it's a matter of playing with this. I built years ago when we were doing all the FIA stuff, we demoed with Todd Geist a process of having it download the latest version, right? That makes sense. Downloading like a file. So I don't know if you're going to cover that or not, but that was always a fun topic too.
Exactly. As I mentioned, I will cover the updating process in more detail later. Okay. But for now,
let's come back another day. You have to come back another day, David. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes. For now, just simple answer is the only time where you really need to submit an update to the App Store is when you need to build it with a newer version of the FileMaker engine, or when you want to include a new version of a plugin. In all other cases, there are ways around it. Okay, so let me go to the next part here. And as we're talking about the App Store, there are actually different distribution methods, and not all of them are well known. What's probably best known is the public App Store. That's the App Store that you open on iPhone or iPad, where you find all the apps that you can download. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. And that's obviously the most well-known method, but it's not the only one. There is something called Apple Business Manager, and for education version of it, which is called Apple School Manager. In the past, that used to be called Volume Purchase Program, but right now it has these nice names, and it's even working better than the Value Purchase Program worked in the past. The downside of it is it's not available in all countries where App Store is available, but Apple is trying to extend it to all the countries where they have presence on the App Store. What Apple Business Manager and Apple School Manager is basically a hidden or locked private App Store within the App Store. Simply said, you publish the app, but you control who has access to it. So, for instance, if you build an app for a specific customer, you can have just that one customer able to download the app from the store, and no one else even knows about it. What it requires on the customer side is to create an Apple Business Manager account, and that's it. Once they have it, they can just log into the Apple Business Manager. They will give you their organization ID, which you can then put in your account on the App Store as the organization who is allowed to download your app, and that's it. So it uses the infrastructure of the App Store, but for the distribution of the app, but it's not public. It's private. It's protected, and only customers who you allow to access your app will have the access. There is one more benefit of the Apple Business Manager path, and that's a simplified review process. I will talk about it in a moment. The third method is Testflight. That's for beta testing, and it's a way how you can allow anyone to download and install your app just by inviting them by providing the email address. So you get the email address of the person you want to provide your app to. You will put it to the app details, to the app settings, and they will get access. Disadvantage of Testflight, it's really intended for beta testing. So every build that you distribute through Testflight has a strict 90 days expiration.
Yeah.
So
that's the big one with that.
So that's because Apple doesn't want people to misuse Testflight as a production distribution channel. But there is one advantage of Testflight, which is interesting, and that it has a separate auto update settings separate from the main App Store. So if you on your iPhone have disabled automated updates in the App Store, you can still enable automated updates within Testflight. That's quite interesting. So if you, I'm not suggesting you to do that, but if you want to distribute your app to just a few people, and if you issue an update every, let's say, 2 months, and those users will have automated updates enabled in Testflight, then they will just keep using the app and have no problems. And the other one is ad hoc distribution. Ad hoc means that basically you put your app after building it on HTTPS or on web server with encryption enabled, and anyone, or you can even distribute it through MDM or by manually installing the app to the devices, and that completely bypasses Apple. That doesn't require any review on the Apple side. You can just distribute it directly to the devices. There also used to be Apple developer program called Developer Enterprise Program. You can still find it on the Apple's website, but for over a year, Apple is no longer accepting new applications for this enterprise program, because they want you to use the Apple Business Manager path.
Interesting. Okay.
But there are companies who have the enterprise distribution enterprise developer program valid. We have one account as well. The benefit of the enterprise program used to be that you could basically provide anyone with a link to install the app, and the only thing they had to do to install it was to go to settings and trust you as a developer, and that was it. Disadvantage of the ad hoc and enterprise distributions, again, is an expiration. In this case, those builds expire at the moment where your distribution profile expires. And the distribution profile cannot be created for more than 1 year. So if you create a new distribution profile today and build your app today, the app will be set to expire in 1 year from now. You can have maximum 2 distribution profile on your account at the same time. So usual practice is to have one created now, another one created in half a year, so that any build created with the first one will expire in 1 year from now, and so on. The ad hoc distribution is, in my opinion, the most widely going to be used within the FileMaker community, because it simply bypasses Apple. You don't have to wait for Apple to approve your app.
Which one are you saying is the most popular one?
The ad hoc.
It has a 1 year expiration, right? So
yes, it has 1 year expiration from the moment you build the profile. So if you just keep creating profiles every 6 months, you can rely on 6 months functionality of your app. But the point is, if your distribution is like, if you need to install your app on 10 devices within a small company or something like that, it's the easiest way to do it. You don't have to go through the App Store at all, or the Apple Business Manager. As long as you build a new version every half a year, you're fine. The difference between ad hoc and enterprise, you could distribute to anyone. For ad hoc distribution, and I will be showing that tomorrow, ad hoc distribution requires you to know the devices which you will be installing the app on prior to building the app. So basically, the app will only work on the devices which you have added to your account before you build the app.
okay,
That's the main.
I've wrestled with that before. That sucks. Doing that. I mean, I understand for demo for you, but you have to. So what he just basically said, everyone, is that you have to go find the UUID, the hidden ID of each device that you want to install on. So you have to know all the people, who they are, and you have to get their cooperation, which is another thing, for them to give you the UID. And if you don't know who they all are, or they don't cooperate with you, you're out of luck on the ad hoc. So go back a second. Why would you not use the Apple Business Manager? Why would you not use that one?
Okay, so Apple Business Manager is by Apple the preferred way. and in most cases is the best way. The disadvantage of Apple Business Manager is the app review process, and that's what I'm leading to now.
The app approval, you said approval process?
Review and approval, yeah, basically. So any app that goes through the App Store, all the Apple Business Manager needs to go through Apple, and Apple does like 3-phase review process. The first part is automated. So when you submit the app, it goes through an automated verification process, checking whether you are calling undocumented APIs, whether you are calling deprecated APIs, whether you are using things that you should not be using, and so on. If your app passes that automated process, which typically takes just a few minutes, then it goes to a brief walkthrough. So it goes to a human who checks your app, simply opens it, installs it, opens it, and click through or taps through the screens that are available there, and verifies that it's not obvious, like scam or any kind of like harassment or violating any laws and things like that. So it goes through a quick review process which checks the app against some basic rules. But if you check the app review guidelines, that's a document maybe 50 pages long. So reading through all the guidelines is not just a few minutes task. It will take you more than an hour. And my experience is that at first attempt, you will unlikely pass through all the verification for the first time. But let me go back to the process. So the second phase is brief walkthrough. So it just checks the apps against the worst violations that you can imagine. And if it passes this second phase, then it becomes available for Testflight. This brief walkthrough typically takes maybe just a few hours. So if you submit the app, it may be 2 hours later where you can start making it available for beta testers. But then there is a detailed review, and that review examines the whole app. It examines all the metadata that you provide to Apple for the App Store, like app description, icons, screenshots, name, everything. And in this review, basically, they are literally checking the app against all the guidelines, all the rules, and whenever they find a mismatch or violation, they stop the review, and they reject the app, and you have to deal with the issue and somehow respond. And that's the reason why, in many cases, people prefer the ad hoc distribution, especially with apps where the time from having the app ready to having it installed is critical, because this review process may take days, sometimes even weeks.
Yeah, to get through the review process. Yeah, it depends.
Yeah, it's not as bad as it used to be. When Apple Developer Program started, I think it was 2008 or something like that. It was quite usual for the review process to take 2 weeks or more. Yeah. And you could ask for expedited review, but you had to provide a good reason, and it wasn't always accepted. It's today typical review process takes about 2 business days if you're not trying to submit an app during the holiday season, like 2 weeks before Christmas, because That's when all the game makers submit their apps and updates, and the whole review team is completely swamped. But if you submit the app during the year, it usually doesn't take longer than 2 days to get the first pass. But it gets longer when the app is rejected, and you have to respond to the and reapply, and you may have to do it maybe 2 or 3 times before the app gets finally accepted for the App Store.
All right, so that's a really good conversation on that part. There are a couple questions. So Alpha Coburn 73 asked a question about. I'm gonna ask for everyone's benefit here. So he asked a question. He says, "I'm familiar with all the." There's a question. Will you be covering how to make an app sync with FileMaker server? So I'm trying to understand what he meant by sync. So sync is.
Well,
I think I had. I don't think I understood what he meant by that. So
yeah. Well, I will be touching that a little bit, but just.
Well, you're just as bad as he is. You're just as bad as he is. Yeah, he said, yeah, I'm going to touch on some of that. Okay, stop. Can I just stop? Everyone just stop. Everyone, shh, listen, let me talk.
Yeah.
So the word sync is very, 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 very misleading. So if you, I would recommend that if you want to talk about offline sync, where you use a database and you're offline, that's one thing. If you have a launcher file and you're opening up a FileMaker on FileMaker server, that's a launcher that opens a file on server. There's not really any syncing there. The other syncing that might occur is if somehow you want to update the FMP12 file that's inside your FiOS application. So you have an updated version of the app, you change your logo. It's not really an offline sync like data, like mirror sync. So if offline sync is a mirror sync conversation with 360 works, we're going to have them in. But yeah, go ahead, HOnza. I just want to be clear about
basically about half of this is going to be the topic for Thursday and half for Friday. So offline sync is I'm going to touch a little bit on Friday, but it itself would be maybe more than one day topic. Updating will be part of Thursday.
Updating the app, right? So
yes,
once again, the word updating the app means adding or replacing the FMP12 file that's embedded inside your iOS app. And I think that needs to be kind of part of this conversation.
Yes.
For those of you, maybe tomorrow we should start with a little bit of terminology, but yeah, that would be probably good. So,
okay.
All right, what else we got to do for today? Let's keep trucking away here.
So the next thing here, Apple Developer Program in more detail. So basically, as I mentioned, you needed. One more thing I wanted to mention with the review process. I forgot. With the Apple Business Manager, because it's a hidden or private part of the App Store, the review process is less strict. So if you want to distribute the app just to select customers, you can succeed getting your app approved, even with features or with design or functionality that would not be accepted for the public App Store, but because it's for a specific customer, you can easily argue, well, this is how the customer wants it, is a custom built app, and it's not going to be public, and they are going to approve it. So that's quite important thing to mention.
Yeah. So if you have public facing, they're going to give it more. They'll be more stringent about what they're doing.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I mean, because here's the thing: they don't. This goes way back. We talked about this with the FiOS training, but you know, when these things came out, what the first thing did is people built there was a lot of really apps. Someone made a app that if you shook it, it would fart or something like that. Just like juvenile humor, which is fine. I mean, everyone needs a good fart app on their iPhone, but I mean, Apple doesn't want to be overwhelmed with dumb applications. They want the App Store to be filled with quality apps. That way you buy the app so they make their money, right? Makes sense. So
Exactly. And by the way, we got one app rejected a few years ago, and the reason was it brings nothing new. It isn't better than the apps doing the same thing which are already on the App Store. So for public-facing apps, this can be the reason for rejection, that you didn't provide anything
You've
new.
got a Wordle app there, right? So if you have 20 Wordle solver apps that are already on the App Store, right? Then you could be rejected because your Wordle app is just another Wordle app, and
Yes,
like
exactly.
another Angry Birds. We already have Angry Birds.
Yeah, exactly. So back to the developer program, just briefly. To start with building the app, Apple developer program is a need. It's a must. You first have to create an Apple ID. That's needed to mention, because to Apple you identify through an Apple ID. Once you have an Apple ID, you can enroll in the Apple developer program. There are two links here. To start the enrollment process, use the bottom link, developer.apple.com/program/enroll. And basically, you will be choosing between as a usual person, you will be choosing between just two options: individual and organization. And if you can avoid individual, avoid it. And there are two reasons mainly. If you enroll as an individual, your apps will appear under your personal name on the App Store. You cannot choose a brand name. And the second disadvantage is that the process with our tool will be more complicated, because as an individual, you cannot delegate privileges to manage your apps to another user in your team, even if you can like invite other team members. So it's more complicated if you enroll as an individual. If you do have a legal entity, if you have a DUNS number, and basically every limited liability company has a DUNS number, and you should always enroll as an organization. The cost of the program is $99 per year. There is one extra program, but I would doubt that anyone in this session would be part of this program. Actually, it's iOS Developer University program. It's specifically for universities, and those can apply for this program for the school, and that's free of charge. But then, obviously, your app will appear on the App Store under the name of the university. And as I mentioned, the Enterprise Developer Program, even though it does exist on the Apple's website, it used to cost $399 per year. Apple is no longer accepting new applications to it. So now, FileMaker iOS App SDK. As Richard already mentioned in the beginning, it's something that's provided by Claris. It's officially supported. You can get it with FileMaker Developer subscription. That's another $99 per year, but it gives you more benefits, not just the FileMaker iOS App SDK. And once you get the developer subscription, you can find the iOS App SDK in the FileMaker Claris community under software benefits. If you go to your profile, scroll down to the very bottom, there is software benefits on the web, and there you can get iOS App SDK. The disadvantage of this is, as already mentioned, it's relatively complicated to use unless you're a programmer or nerd and you like spending time configuring things by modifying the text file. Also, you need a Mac. Although most FileMaker developers develop on Mac, there are still quite a lot of developers who use Windows. And you need the Xcode developer environment, which itself is a steep learning curve to use. So as an alternative, we have a service. It's called Xcode, and it's an online service on our website where literally you build your app in less than 15 minutes. It's no imitation. It's not like live code or anything like that. It's really Xcode and FileMaker iOS app SDK running on a Mac, automated for you so that you don't have to work with it directly, but instead you're presented with a very simplified web interface. Just drag and drop, fill a few fields, no learning needed, no Mac needed. You just put in the FileMaker file, you drop in any plugins that you want to use, and depending on how you want to distribute the app, we have you covered. So if you want to use the ad hoc distribution, you just get a secure link with a QR code, which you can scan on any iPhone or iPad, and that will just give you install button that you press and install the app. If you want to go through the App Store, our service automatically uploads the build to the App Store. So again, the only thing that you have to do extra is to fill in all the metadata like app description, icons, screenshots, not even the icon because that's included in Xcode. So all this is automated, and the only interface you need to deal with are a few web forms, and that's it. If you go to xcode.com, you can see it in action. There is a about 3-minute video which will briefly show you how what the experience looks like, and the cost is $199 per year. We also have quarterly or monthly options. We also offer paying for single build, but this is the most advantageous one. And as soon as you start get used to it, and the convenience of being able to build your app in 15 minutes, then tweak something and build it again and again and again, you will quickly discover that it's well worth $200 per year, because you will simply end up building your app maybe 10 times a day when you are in the process of preparing a new version. And obviously, well, not so obviously, but you still need to pay for the other two things. So you still need to pay for the Apple Developer Program, because that will allow you to put the app on the devices, and you still have to pay for the FileMaker Developer subscription, because otherwise you would not be legally using the iOS app SDK installed on our backend.
Okay, so real quick, so let me wave my hands here just for a little bit. So Mark, can you quit sharing your screen just briefly? Go back to video for you, HOnza, so we can.
Yeah, I have just one last thing here, just a quick.
Okay, yeah, this is a good one. There's some questions here that we need to address. So yeah.
Okay, so this is my last slide for today, just showing how much time you will spend with building every build of your app. So the most time-consuming process is setting it up in the beginning, where setting up the Apple Developer Program can take typically up to 2 weeks, and then everything is very smooth and fast. And then once everything is set up, it's just a few minutes to build your app. So I'm stopping my screen sharing and giving you.
And this slide right here, by the way, I just took a screenshot. That's the best slide I've seen today by far. This is a really educational one right here. So you ended with a really good slide. So all right, so go ahead and just jump the video, and if we want to jump back to screen share, we can if we need to. So
we can now see you. You're good.
All right, great. So real quick, so let me talk about some kind of conceptual stuff a little bit. This is I'm going to deal with Scott Kane first. So Scott has this question saying, hey, does this work with Android? So let me back up and frame all this. So I could give you the 2-second answer, but if you're asking the question, it means you're not really fully understanding what's going on. So let me talk about this real quick. So FileMaker Go is an application that shares its original source code with FileMaker Pro. So that's why Apple came out with FileMaker. Actually, it was Chris Krim did it in his garage over a weekend after they had a bet at Claris on a Friday. He said, I can have this running on the iPhone, by Monday. And he went to his garage, literally at home, and worked in his garage. And this is 2009, 2008. And he took the code that ran FileMaker Pro. It was essentially the same code that works on the Mac, on the iOS, and he made the first version of FileMaker Go. So FileMaker Go is fundamentally FileMaker Pro on the Mac. So that's why the biggest reason why there's no Android version of any of this technology, there's no simple way for them to port or convert any code base they have for FileMaker Pro for Mac or Windows into Android. Okay, so it doesn't exist. That's why Go doesn't exist for Android. Now you could say, well, it's Apple and they don't want to support the competing product from Google. That's a contributing factor. But if they could press a button and compile something in say a week's worth of work, and they were mostly done, I think Claris would do that. But the problem is it's not a week's worth of work. It's probably years worth of work, probably $5 million of investment, and that's it's a bridge too far, right? So understand that that's why Go is the way it is. So what is the FileMaker app SDK? Let's back up. FileMaker app SDK is where you take Xcode. Xcode is an application that you build an application on it, and then when you're done building the app, you build windows, you build buttons, you do everything like an interface in FileMaker, and then you hit the compile button. FileMaker Pro doesn't have a compile button. Essentially, it does it on the fly in real time, but you build it, and then you go from layout mode to browse mode. That's effectively compiling the app so you can test it in browse mode. You're in layout mode, you make edits, you go to browse mode, it effectively compiles it for you, and it shows it to you. That's what Xcode does. So Xcode, when it outputs, can output to Mac, it can output to iOS for phone or iPad or even iWatch or probably Apple TV. It can output to any of those, okay? It doesn't output to Android. It doesn't output to Windows. So this is this platform. So what Claris does, they take Xcode and they add a library to it effectively. And so it puts the source code for FileMaker Go in with Xcode. So you build your app in there, and then you run the compile process. And what Xcode does, it takes the libraries that make FileMaker Go work, it takes its own capabilities, and it literally builds an executable application. It's called an IPA. The extension is .ipa. So instead of FMP12, they can takes your file, takes the libraries from FileMaker Go, some other iOS stuff, and glues it together into an IPA file that's executable on the iPhone, iPad, watch, TV, whatever, right? So what HOnza's done is that's a pain in the ass. So what he's done is he's built a service where all you have to do is submit this stuff on the web. He's got this high-end Mac somewhere that's probably, or more than one Mac. I have no idea how many he has, but basically you go into a queue and it drops it on this machine, and it's got Xcode pre-configured, so you don't have to wrestle with that. You don't have to understand how it works, because we've covered this in our training before. It's kind of a pain in the ass. One of you said, hey, it's a pain in the ass. Yeah, it is a pain in the ass. And so he has simplified the process, but it's the same process. It's Xcode. It's the FileMaker iOS app SDK solution development kit. So that's the library that kind of gets glued into Xcode, and along with your FMP12 file, or more than one FMP12 file if you have a solution, right? And then it wraps all that up into a single IPA file. Once that IPA file is done, you submit it to Apple for review. That's how that works. So it compiles it, it builds it on your computer, it shoots it across the internet to Apple. Apple says, yes, we've received it. We will let you know as soon as we're done reviewing it. And then a day goes by or a week goes by. They either accept it or fail or reject it. So there's no Android version of this because there's no FileMaker Go for Android. Right. All HOnza's done, he hasn't really built a new product. He's just made using the existing products much easier, much simpler. Does that make sense? So hopefully I've articulated that well enough for everyone. Yeah.
Could we mention what the topics will be for tomorrow?
Yeah. Why don't you show your screen? What do we have? What are we doing tomorrow?
Yeah. So let me do that. So it will be mostly how to, and specifically about developing, building, and preparing the app for distributing. So I'll also slightly cover what the IPA is, but you already mentioned it today a little bit. So instead of repeating your words, I will show on a desktop
sure
what the structure of the IPA is. And I'll cover also a little bit about using an opener app so that you don't have to keep rebuilding your app, but instead you can build a simple opener for testing and debugging, and even for deployment if you want. But for testing specifically with plugins, it's very helpful because you can basically build a clone of FileMaker Go with plugins embedded into it.
Yep. So So he's going to show all this tomorrow. So once again, everyone, what is IPA? IPA is FileMaker Go glued together with your FMP12 files with an S, optionally more than one file, into a single like zip kind of idea. It's a single kind of single file that you gets passed around. And so when you go download Angry Birds and things like that from Apple's App Store, you're downloading angrybirds.ipa. You don't see the dot because Apple extracts it and makes it all cuddly and snuggly and beautiful. But if you I've actually had guys jailbreak their phones, and they're in the command line and stuff on their phone, and you can see all the extensions and all the like legit nastiness running under the hood. So that's what it is. It's a real thing. IPA is exactly. That's what David said. It's a compiled app. It's like an exe, but it will only execute on an iOS device. But part of the thing that the conversation is that when you go to execute that IPA file, the operating system, part of what it does, it checks to see if it's allowed to open it. We're back to this, permissions thing, right? And so that's why you build the app, you submit to Apple, we approve it, we don't approve it. What that means is Apple's turning a switch on their side that allows the operating system to open it or to not open it. For example, you hear stories about someone like, well, we had this app, it was called Angry Birds for Toddlers, for 3-year-olds, and they're playing with it, and then it's secretly tracking what their parents do, and it's gone into the contacts, their parents' phones contacts, and downloaded all the contacts and breaking all these privacy laws, and Apple has a kill switch. It's the same switch that you try to turn on when you get approved. If they find that your app secretly snuck through and you're an evil person, they can initiate a kill on it and kill it where it won't run your IPA anymore, right? And so people are like, well, they can't do that. Well, it's a more secure platform. You're less likely to have your information stolen, hijacked, or otherwise blown up by hackers. So does that matter to you? If it doesn't matter to you, then Android might be a better answer for you. But that's kind of what that is. So question, will FileMaker-based IPAs run on Mac M1s? So,
well, that's a good question, and actually, I can try.
Maybe someday. Is it doing it
yet? With my app that I just submitted, I actually did allow it to run on Mac, but I haven't tried it.
Okay, so show your screen and try it. Are you on an M1 right now? You're on an M1. Your new laptop's M1, right?
Yes, I am. So
go. Hey, we demand answers. We want this right here would be huge because then you're building a runtime outside of Claris. Oops. Shh. No one say anything. Hey, this is double secret. This is like double secret probation.
So there is this. Is there a Testflight for Mac? Let's try App Store. Testflight.
Yeah, because that was the thing that theoretically the M1 is. Oh, there it is. All right. All right. So we're gonna continue this conversation right now for about 5 minutes, and whatever answer we can get to, we will do. Yeah, because you got a whole new. There we go.
So I'm just installing.
No way. No way. See if this works.
And here we are.
All right. Hey, all you people who don't think I deliver value during the 1-hour live stream, you can kiss my ass. That's a first. I have never seen this.
So this is my FileMaker app built with Xgo, installed on my M1 Mac.
This is okay. So let me back up. This is your FileMaker solution running in Go, compiled running illicitly on his Mac. If someone at Claire sees this, I'm sure someone will turn us in.
And you see, it even has menus like spelling and grammar.
Hey, we need to take a copy of Starting Point and try this. This would be funny.
Yeah, definitely. And
so then you could have, well, it doesn't really solve the Windows side. It doesn't solve the Android side, but you've got another. But you got a runtime. You've got a runtime on the
exactly.
Mac.
Exactly. You got a runtime for M1 Mac, even with 19, when runtimes are no longer existing.
Holy shit.
And by the way, able to connect to FileMaker server.
Oh, well, yeah, but see, that's what Claris, listen, Claris is going to freak, but really at the end of the day, they shouldn't, because they want to charge for the server connections.
Well, exactly. I wanted to mention, it's not a way to bypass the FileMaker license, because the current license terms already have this expected and covered, that if you do this, you still have to pay the same license as if you use FileMaker Pro. But the point is that you can have this user experience. You can have without
the So here's the reality of this. So there's two things. A, he's talking about the user experience. You don't see FileMaker running here. You have your own thing. The other thing is that Claire's put this provision here. We haven't really talked about it. We're saying if it's like the tax service in California. If you derive value of this and you think it's valuable, pretty much you should know that you're going to owe us tax on it. So Claris wants to tax, like you say, if you made this app and you distribute it to 100 people, Claris would want you to buy 100 seats. This brings up a really interesting kind of scenario. Well, someone's going to rat us out. Someone here is probably not. It's probably like Canberra is not really Canberra. It's like Brad, right? Brad's hiding, in Arizona or something.
Okay, let's not talk about it.
Yeah. Wow. So for those of you who thought this was going to suck for a live stream, you had no idea that if you waited all the way to the end that we would blow the world, we would explode, we would blow up the world. Quit sharing your screen. You can't share your screen anymore. Margaret. We're not allowed to see this. Quit sharing your screen. We're not allowed to see this anymore because it's like we just maybe other people knew about this, but I did not know about it, because most people don't do iOS FPK. It's a pain in the ass. We're all got a gun to our head, like, God, do we really have to do this? Yeah, compile, make it work. Compile. Now it's simple, and now it works as a runtime on M1s. Of course, not everyone has an M1 yet, but in 5 years it'll be standard. Wow. Okay, I don't know what to say besides none of you are allowed to see this. So that's the end of the live stream. Margaret, roll credits. Roll credits. Roll credits.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
We have to shut this off before something happens. No one come back tomorrow. Can't tell you what'll happen. Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir.